Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host, Ilene, and on this week's program, Dr. Bruce McFadden with UF's Florida Museum of Natural History discusses the once-in-a-century opportunity to discover fossils unearthed by the expansion of the new Panama Canal and what this information means to understanding our past and our future. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. As the University of Florida celebrates the 100th anniversary of the opening of the Panama Canal, the expansion of the new canal offers unprecedented scientific and educational opportunities. To tell us more, I'm pleased to introduce my guest, Dr. Bruce McFadden, curator and distinguished professor, University of Florida, Florida Museum of Natural History. And Bruce, it is wonderful to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Ilene.
Well, you know, I think back to all the many times we've been together at the Florida Museum of Natural History, and what a wonderful place it is, and such a place of learning and opportunity. And you have done so much through the museum and in your other many hats that you wear. So kind of tell us a little, Bruce, about yourself. Like, what made you follow science, and what are you passionate about?
I've been interested in science since I was a kid.
Okay.
And my mom would take me to the American Museum of Natural History in New York. And like every other kid, 4 years old, I was crazy for dinosaurs.
Okay, the dinosaurs do it, yeah.
Right, I guess I never grew up. I still have that childhood passion for understanding extinct life. And although I don't study dinosaurs anymore, I'm still interested in animals that are, many of whom are no longer here.
Okay, primarily horses, right?
I studied fossil horses, which were very different than modern day horses, and other kinds of mammals that used to live in the Americas millions of years ago and are now extinct.
Okay. And okay, now back to the Panama Canal. How did you get interested in Panama to start with? I know you went on a trip with Marianne and Dr. David Coffrin at one point.
Right, we went down with them in 2002.
Okay.
And we were hosted by the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. And when I went down there, I said, this is a place I'd really like to work. I'm really interested in the ancient rainforest and the biodiversity that's preserved or used to live in the ancient rainforests. And I figured that one place that we could find evidence of the ancient rainforest would be in Panama. But at the time, there weren't any good outcrops or excavations going on.
Right. Not like what you have now. Yes,
not like now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So okay, sort of, that's one point. But move us forward, let's say like 2007, something else happened around Panama that got your interest.
Yeah, in 2004 they were building a new bridge across the canal called the Centennial Bridge, and when they excavated for the pilings of the bridge, they uncovered fossils. So we were down there collecting the fossils behind the excavators, and then of course in 2009 Panama started the new expansion and excavations for the new branch of the canal, and that really is just a once-in-a-century opportunity to understand the kinds of animals that used to live in the ancient rainforest based on the kinds of fossils that we collect as a result of the excavations.
And I know that's ongoing, but now, so now explain under this big umbrella, Panama Canal Project. How did that evolve?
The Panama Canal Project started in 2009. It was a 5-year grant funded by the National Science Foundation. We realized at the time that the excavations were going to start and would continue for 5 or 6 years, and we wanted to be the lead team that was going to be working in the canal. So as the University of Florida is the central figure, the central leader for the project,
right? And
we have many partners. We have partners with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, New Mexico Museum of Natural History. We have partners in Panama, some of the universities like the University of Panama, University of Cherokee. So there are lots of folks who are involved in this project.
And then you were, through the Florida Museum of Natural History, was awarded that grant, quite a a grant to be able to start this, the Panama Canal project,
correct.
Which our director, Doug Jones, and others were involved in.
That's correct.
And so, I mean, it's quite exciting, and it has another aspect, Panama Canal project, and then partnerships in international research and education, which must really excite you because education means a lot to you. What does that component have to, where's that component involved?
The PIRE project are called the flagship projects of the Office of International Programs at the National Science Foundation. These are large multi-year projects to train the next generation of scientists, to make discoveries that would not have been made without the funding. And these are really very comprehensive, complex grants that have both a mission in research. So the research mission of our project is to discover ancient biodiversity as preserved in fossils along the canal, to better understand who lived in the ancient rainforest, why it's important to understand that. But then there's also an education and outreach component. Which I'm equally interested in. We're doing museum exhibits.
Oh, wow.
We're working with teachers, and we're training the next generation of scientists.
So much happening, and I know you're very excited. We're going to talk more about all of this. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're discovering Panama fossils with Dr. Bruce McFadden. And Bruce, this is really intriguing. So take me back, like over 4 million years ago, before the Isthmus of Panama. And what was the world like then?
We understand what the world was like prior to 4 million years ago based on the kinds of fossils that we're discovering along the Panama Canal. For example, this is a fossil horse that we collected right along the Panama Canal about 4 or 5 years ago. And this horse we know is 19 million years old. It lived throughout the North American continent 19 million years ago, before the formation of the Isthmus of Panama. And what we know is everywhere else where we find this fossil horse, the name of the horse is Anchitherium. It was a three-toed extinct horse about the size of a donkey. Every time we find Anchitherium in fossil localities throughout North America, and it even is found in the Old World, we know that those environments were forested based on its teeth. So by inference, we find Anchitherium in Panama 19 million years ago, and it indicates for us that Panama back then was forested.
Right, so I see what you mean. The fossils tell the story.
The fossils tell the story of the environment, how the environments change, and also the kinds of ancient biodiversity that lived in these kinds of places.
All right. And what do you mean by the Great American Interchange?
Yeah. The Great American Interchange, or sometimes called the Great American Biotic Interchange, scientists refer to it as GABI, Great American Biotic Interchange, is a time after about 4 million years ago when the Isthmus of Panama formed through geologic activity, and it formed a dry land bridge between the Americas, South America and North America. So what happened is animals that existed in South America were able to migrate northward, and conversely animals that evolved in North America dispersed southward across the bridge. And this intermingling of faunas in the north and the south, scientists have called GABI, or the Great American Biotic Interchange.
And now, as a scientist, when you see the fossils and you're able to piece together all of that happening, what story does it tell to you?
It tells me about how animals intermingled and how they competed with one another for resources. It tells me about ancient geography, where animals came from, where they spread to. So the fossil evidence of really is all about what we understand in terms of the Great American Interchange.
Okay. And now what about this other fossil?
So this other fossil this is really cool. This is we didn't discover this in the field. This was discovered over a half century ago by a Boy Scout who lived in Panama in 1959. And how do I have this? I have this because last July I gave a talk to the Panama Canal Society in Orlando.
Right. The Zonians.
The Zonians. And one of the Zonians in the audience, after my talk, came up and said, when I was a Boy Scout in 1959, at the Boy Scout camp on Lake Madden, which is one of the reservoirs that feed the canal.
Okay.
I collected fossils along the canal, along the lake, the reservoir, and I found some shark's teeth. And he said they're really big. And I said, yeah, those are probably megalodon. That's interesting. He goes, and I also found a very large tooth that I think might be an elephant. And I was sort of skeptical because we hadn't found any elephants from this time period during the Miocene, about 10 to 15 million years ago, before the formation of the land bridge. So he sent me photographs, and I said, that's really interesting. Send me the fossil, and this is the fossil. And it indeed is an animal that we didn't know about in southern part of Central America had he not sent me this. And this is an animal called a gomphothere, related to a modern-day elephant. And this animal lived throughout North America and Europe and into Eurasia, between 10 and 15 million years ago.
And that is the actual
This is the actual
tooth.
This is the actual fossil tooth. This is a replica. This is the real deal.
Oh boy.
Yeah, really cool.
It is.
So we've since described it, and it's now in review in a scientific journal. And the cool thing is
outstanding.
The friendship that I've developed with his name is Dr. Turner from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He's an optometrist. And as we said, he was a Zonian.
A Zonian, yes. Yeah. And we've been learning all about the Zonians through this upcoming Centennial that we're very excited about. So that's remarkable. It's outstanding. And I'm proud that you have it here on our show. I'm learning. And we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're discovering Panama fossils with Dr. Bruce McFadden. And this is so intriguing and interesting, Bruce, all that you're presenting with us. And yet, tell us about another aspect of what you do, training the next generation of scientists.
Sure. Part of the expectations of these large, complex PIRE projects is student engagement and training the next generation of scientists to understand how to do international research. So we have graduate students and undergraduate students and postdocs from primarily from the University of Florida, who are working down in Panama. We actually have a group of interns who are living in Panama. We've rented a house, and every day they go out in the field, and they do this for, each cohort lives in Panama for either 3 or 4 months at a time, living and working together, and learning about how to collect fossils in the field, why they're important, interacting with folks in the STRI intellectual community, but also learning about Panamanian culture as part of their experience. And this is all important for global competency of the next generation of scientists.
So they're immersing themselves in this. And this involves, well, as you said, students from the University of Florida and teachers who are part of the project.
Yes. Going back to the internship program, we don't just have, primarily we have University of Florida students, but many of the interns in the program are from other universities that we recruit through an application process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which then is all the benefit for everybody, because there's more interchange of knowledge and ideas.
We diversify the experience for people who are interested.
Right.
For the young scientists.
And thinking about teachers out there in middle and high school or who are engaging young people in science, this must really give them so much adrenaline and energy to go back and then teach their students, to be in the field, to see this science being real.
Yeah, this is a really rewarding aspect of the PIRE project that I hadn't anticipated when I first started the project. I've been taking teachers with us to Panama for the past 2 years, and we now have funding for the next 3 years to continue to take teachers to Panama so they understand what it's like to do real science and real science in another country. And this is really cool to see the teachers learning and sharing in the enthusiasm, and they're making the discoveries also out in the field collecting fossils with us.
And as we talked about, it's not easy work. It's hot.
It is. It's like the hottest afternoon in July in Florida, with no shade.
Right, and you're out in your yard, but even
out
worse.
in your yard,
Yes,
but there's
grueling.
No shade, and you can't go back inside for a drink of water.
Way far away.
Right.
Yes. But everybody's committed to this project, and it's meaningful. But help us understand now why we as society, why do we care? What do we learn from all of this?
We need to understand the ancient biodiversity of the tropical areas because they're the areas that have the highest biodiversity today, and we want to know what the number of species was like in the past. It's also important to understand how species evolve through time.
Okay.
And the PIRE project and the discoveries we're making in Panama allow us to understand long-term evolution of life.
And through understanding that, do you feel that it helps us as we move forward into the future? That's part of the need to understand.
Absolutely. You need to understand the past in order to predict and understand the future.
And to even prepare for the future.
Correct.
Right. And I know one of the areas you focus on is the broader impacts. Is that part of it? How does that all evolve?
Well, broader impacts means that as a scientist, I should reach out to the public, whether it's through schools or teachers or museums, and communicate and engage the public and schools in what I do so that they can also learn from the discoveries that we make.
Well, we appreciate that because here in the community of Gainesville in North Central Florida, you've made many talks. I've attended several. And yes, you've been conveying that and engaging all of us into understanding and wanting to understand more and to appreciating what scientists are doing.
Thank you.
And I mean, you must be, and everybody down there, so excited about what you are finding in this area of Panama. I mean, it's a once in a century, in our lifetime opportunity.
Absolutely. It's these fossils and other fossils which really tell the story. And if we were not down there collecting the fossils, we would have no understanding of the ancient biodiversity of the rainforest.
Right.
Millions and millions of years ago before the formation of the Isthmus of Panama.
Fascinating. Well said. And we're going to take another quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're talking with Dr. Bruce McFadden. And Bruce, tell me about this museum, the Biomuseum in Panama. It seems fascinating.
This is a world-class museum that will open up later this year, hopefully in the next couple of months. And the Florida Museum of Natural History has partnered with the Biomuseum to help with some of the exhibits. We've made replicas of fossils that will go on display, permanent display at the Biomuseum, but in addition, we're in the process now of developing a temporary exhibit that will focus on the discoveries that we're making along the canal.
And the sculptures that you're talking about, what is that of? What will we see when we're in this museum?
There's a fabulous exhibit where there are life-size sculptures of many of the animals that migrated across the land bridge after the formation of the isthmus during the Great American Biotic Interchange. You'll see sloths and giant armadillos and horses and tapirs. It's really going to be cool.
This is going to be outstanding. I'm actually now planning a trip. I haven't started, but I want to go to Panama.
It's a great place. It really is.
Yes, I can see. There's a lot going on. Don't want to miss out. But of course, we're bringing a lot of Panama here. And that's going to be taking place at the University of Florida, August 15th, 16th, 17th, during the Panama Canal Centennial celebration. And a lot is happening, and I'm very pleased that we did a show about all of that. But Saturday, on August 16th, the Florida Museum is quite a big part of what's going on.
That's correct. We're going to have some programming, talks, other kinds of activities, and folks will also be able to see the exhibit that we've built about the discoveries along the canal called Explore Research, and we have videos, and some of the members of the Panama Canal Society will be there. Hopefully my friend Dr. Turner from Mississippi, and it'll be a great weekend.
Yes, I mean, I think that, well, the Panama Canal Zonians, as they call themselves,
Yes.
those who lived in that area, they have got wonderful stories and
absolutely
good memories, and it is going to be, yes, an outstanding weekend, and I'm proud the Florida Museum is playing such a prominent role in this. And the Florida Museum, as we know, does many other things in this community. So tell me about science cafes, because that's a great opportunity.
Sure. We now have a monthly series. It doesn't occur during the summer, but during the school year, every month, we have a science cafe where we go to a restaurant and we have folks come in, they have a meal and they have a drink, and then there's a talk on some topic that relates to science. I gave one about the Panama Canal project back in April.
Right. And so all of this is just, it's lifelong learning. It's great opportunities. And now, okay, take yourself back to Panama for just a second. We have about a minute or two. What is some of the most exciting discoveries? Discovery is a word that I know that's what moves you forward. The thrill, the anticipation of discovering.
It's hard to say, but I would say the horses, because that's my particular research interest, but we're also finding fossil monkeys. That's a whole nother story that really fascinating. So the fossils are just, the discoveries are perhaps unanticipated, and they just really advance our understanding of what's going on in what's now Panama.
Right, and I mean, it's did you ever anticipate, like, you know, the building of this new canal that is first, that in of itself is just an awesome achievement to go along with the one a century ago. I mean, it's just, but who would have thought that all of this uncovering would bring to bear this knowledge, this opportunity?
Before 12 years ago, I didn't even know that this was going to happen. So you have to, as a scientist, you have to seize opportunities and go with the opportunities to make the discoveries. Without the excavations along the canal, none of this would have happened.
Right, so it is, and I love how you're bringing in teaching and teachers and so many aspects of this. We just have a few more moments, but what would you just like to say in closing?
This has been a really rewarding project, not just for me, but all the participants. And it's been a joy to see how it's developed over the past 4 years. We have another year of funding left, and we're very excited to sort of finish off the project and see it end.
Oh, well done. Thank you so much, Bruce, for sharing such important knowledge. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks.
And I am glad that you tuned in, and I hope you'll join us next week. Take care.